Five, four, three, two, one, zero. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome in, folks, to another edition of the Two Growls, One Roar podcast. Hope you guys are doing well. Actually, we're going to take 2 seconds as I am going to switch the Wi-Fi. There we go. Coming back. All right, we got the Wi-Fi switched over, so sorry about that. Always change the Wi-Fi before I come into this, and did not do it today. So we'll get started with the episode here in just a minute. I'm trying to find something if I can. For whatever reason, internet is not. There we go. We're going to get there. What a game. What a freaking game, man. All right, I'm almost where I want to be, possibly, for us to get this show started. Looking for, that's what I want. All right, perfect. We're getting there, folks, man. Hope you guys are doing well. If you are here and you're tuned into the show, make sure you hit the like button, that you are subscribed, all those important things, which I greatly appreciate. What a show, man. What a performance that we had today. I would be lying if I told you I saw that coming. Like, let's be honest. At least I'm going to be honest with you. If you followed me this week and heard me speak on the Carolina Panthers and the Green Bay Packers and my expectations for this game, I said there's no way. I just didn't think the Panthers had a shot. And that was partially because, maybe I bought into Green Bay a little too much. But it's kind of funny, as we're leading into the game. I had a buddy that texted me who's a Green Bay fan, and he said it's probably going to be closer than you think. He was like, Green Bay, when they are favored as heavily as they were today, the games are usually close. And sure enough, it was close. I thought Green Bay easily, would cover 13 points-ish. But shout out to the Carolina Panthers for the game plan that they were able to put together today, because that really was the difference. And we heard LaFleur in the post-game press conference with the Green Bay Packers talking about that the Panthers executed what they had to do. I kind of think about it going way back. I mean, there's a lot of sports analogies, but being able to control the clock, keep the other offense off the field, like those two things. But it reminds me of probably Pop Warner days with some of the teams that you would play, and there's really no chance that you're going to beat the team on the other side, so your coach just puts together a game plan to just run the ball nonstop, same play after play after play. Or even from a basketball perspective, at least way back when in high school, I don't know if there's a shot clock in high school anymore or not, or one implemented. But I think back to some of the teams that would just dribble up and hold the ball for like 3 or 4 minutes, run one play, get a bucket, and that was just what they did. They controlled it in order to win, and that's what the Carolina Panthers did today. I did not. There's a lot of things I did not like, and then they just proved me wrong at every single turn. And good for them, man. This was a really big win. You're talking about knocking off the number one team in the NFC at the time, a team that, as we start talking about tiebreakers going down the line, because those things do come into play. I mean, you look at their their division there in the NFC North, odds are Detroit favorable, potential to win. Minnesota's creeping up. Chicago's creeping up. So there's no guarantee that you're going to have Green Bay come out on top. Still one of the better teams, but no guarantee. And it's nice for them. They have the tie when we start getting into this stuff. But that win down the stretch is going to be important because you look at the Carolina Panthers now having the tiebreaker over the Cowboys, although I don't know if the Cowboys are going to put together a run. And then the Green Bay Packers. So should you get into a scenario, and honestly, unless the Panthers tie, it's going to be hard to have the same record as them. So that is one upside for the Green Bay Packers, is the fact that, you do have one less loss in your column. So you're not going to have identical records unless you have the Panthers tie at some point, which I hope doesn't happen. Either way, though, I will gladly take that. So right from the jump, and you heard them talk through this on the broadcast, the Panthers choosing to get the ball first. I immediately said, I don't like it. It was the first thing I said. I was like, I don't really care what happens. I don't like that the Panthers want to get the ball first. But then, you think about the game plan that they put together in order to be able to pick where you kicked in the second half and then deciding where you want to go. And then, of course, all that lining up at the end with your rookie kicker delivering one more time. Bryce Young executing one more time. And honestly, a lot of unselfish football across the team. Rico Dowdle, glad to see him in the driver's seat. It's something that we talked about last week and leading into this game, and we knew it was going to happen. I'm glad that Canales trusted his gut, and he stuck with it, because it's one thing to say, we're going to go with this model where we're featuring Rico as the number one back. It's not an easy thing to do. It really isn't. On paper, yes, it makes sense, but all the dynamics of the locker room, the way that people view Chuba Hubbard, cornerstone guy, a guy really helping build and change the culture and all those things. We know how hard he works. To kind of have him push down the totem pole, like, it sucks. And from his perspective, and I don't think there's been many people that have brought this up, but he is the one that was in a very similar situation, a little bit different, but he's the one when we brought in Miles Sanders, and Miles Sanders was supposed to be that guy. Chuba Hubbard took his spot, took his reps, and Miles Sanders got pushed to the back burner. I don't think that's going to happen like long term, because Rico is here for 1 year. He's going to be a free agent after this. I mean, unless he just loves Carolina, I'm going to guess that some team is going to want to pay him 10, 11, 12 million, something per year that's going to set him up really well. Now, I don't know. I just don't think the Carolina Panthers can afford it. And they have Jonathan Brooks. They have ETN. There's a lot of people here in that running back room for next year. But overall, man, what a game. I mean, it wasn't pretty. So one of the things that really was frustrating me was the broadcast, and it wasn't Greg Olsen, but they were kind of leaning into this being, they called it choppy. They kept calling it choppy. I'm like, do you mean sloppy? Because I don't understand calling it a choppy game, because they just continue to say that. I cannot remember the guy who was calling alongside Greg, because I was bouncing between our radio broadcast and that. But I was like, dude, you're calling it sloppy. Well, guess what? That's because you are seeing a defense execute in the Carolina Panthers that are making it that way. They're making it look ugly. You think about this win. I mean, honestly, you go back a few weeks ago against the Jets, it's a very similar game, like not having to do too much, being able to make a few plays, doing enough. And that's exactly what happened. Now, going to Bryce Young, and I posted this, and I'll stand on it every single time that it's brought up. I don't care how many yards he throws for. I do not. As long as the team is winning, because he made plays down the stretch, and then some people are trying to say, well, we're going to need him to execute this, and this, or if he did this, then it's like, guys, you're going up against a really good defense on the road, number one team in the NFC, a game where you are 13.5-point underdogs, 2 touchdowns. Nobody in their right mind expected the Carolina Panthers to win this game. So when you go in there and your game plan is to hand the ball off 20, 25, 30 times and just get out of there with as few amount of passes that you have to make, take it. Absolutely take that every single day of the week, because the inverse of that, if you want Bryce to come in and sling the ball 30 to 40 times, you're going to have incompletions. You're going to have more turnovers just naturally. You're probably going to have more pressure, because the pressure, I mean, shout out to the offensive line. The offensive line held up against Micah Parsons. Just the entire defense was ridiculous, especially with the rotation of guys going in and out. You drop back to pass 30 to 40 times, guess what? He's going to get hit. You're going to have more of those fumbles, which luckily Chuba Hubbard, speaking of Chuba, coming up and being in the right spot at the right time to be able to make that play. You just can't sling it around. You take what you can get, and that's what the Carolina Panthers did. Now, we can break down the interception. Sure, nobody wants to see an interception. It was a very windy environment, as we could see from TV and everyone that was reporting it there. Windy. It looked bad. The throw that he made, I mean, I personally don't think he's trying to throw that ball inside. I think the wind got a hold of it. Now, I know the flip side of it that people have called out too is the fact that he had Coker underneath. Shallow pass, could have got it to him. There was a lot of space to work with. Maybe he didn't see him. I don't know. Either way, Bryce Young made the plays that he needed to make down the stretch, coming off of, like, remember, I don't know that he's 100% either. Like, being honest, because you talk about a pretty severe, at least initially reported injury, where he was projected to miss multiple games. He was able to work his way back in one game. I think more out of necessity, because we know Andy Dalton likely isn't going to do anything based off of what we had last week, not to mention the thumb and all that put together. But it's one of those where it's just like, dude, the Carolina Panthers have been an irrelevant franchise for 7 years. And honestly, you could go back a little further if you wanted. Like, yeah, sure, you throw in one playoff appearance in between then. But the last 10 years, outside of the Super Bowl, not a lot to say about the Carolina Panthers. So for me, as I watch this as a fan, it was funny. My wife was like, so do you want the Panthers to go? Are they going to the Super Bowl? It's like, I don't know if I'm going that far, but I was like, a win to me is making the playoffs. Like, get into the playoffs, because there's a lot of folks, even within the Carolinas, that still don't think it's going to happen. Dave Canales getting to 5 wins all the way through 9 games. 5-4, a winning record in November. If you go back and you listen to the things that I have said about where we are, where we're going, and how do we get there, this is part of that journey. And folks, we can, now that this game is behind us, start talking about what's coming ahead, as we do every week on the show. We are halfway through the NFL season. Carolina Panthers are in the hunt, and they have a chance to really put their foot down, to imprint themselves as a true contender. Sure, maybe the outside is still not going to say that they're a legitimate football team. I don't care. You have Chris Canty, all these big ESPN guys. Yes, I've seen them. I don't listen to them a lot, but Chris Canty, a few weeks ago on whatever I can't remember, Evan Canty, Michelle, I don't know what their shows are called, in the morning, saying that the Panthers are irrelevant, that they're not any good. That was Chris Canty a few weeks ago. And then this past week, you have Evan with top 5 teams that are a hot mess, listing the Carolina Panthers as a team that are a hot mess, when you have 10 plus teams coming into this that had a worse record than the Carolina Panthers. People are just basing things off of assumptions of, like, oh, this is a team that hasn't beat them, that's beat some really bad teams. They're just stacking those things together, and that's fine. I hope the national media continues to ignore this football team. I hope everyone else outside of the Carolinas, including our opponents, continues to ignore it, because we are seeing progress, stacking days, stacking wins, winning games that this team honestly, like, had no business winning today. Coming into it, no business winning this game. The Panthers did it, man. They're at 5-4. Like we said, looking ahead to the Saints. I'm not saying that's going to be an easy game, but an opportunity again within your division to not only win but get to 6-4, and who knows what could happen with Tampa Bay. It's crucial. The Panthers are in a crucial stretch of their schedule if they want to have an opportunity to make the playoffs where they are right now. Primarily because we know what's coming. It's not getting any easier. But traveling up to Lambeau and winning on the road in November, difficult. You look at where the Carolina Panthers have to go as far as what's coming next. So we got to this mark. As we take a step back, let's just talk about where we were. We talk about the Panthers getting to a winning record. So getting to 4-3, which was amazing. We're all celebrating. At least I was. I don't care that they beat the Jets 13-6. It was Carolina Panthers are 4-3. We said, okay, first 7 games was the easier stretch for this team. Next 3 games coming up: Buffalo, Green Bay, and the Saints. That's how we broke it out. Because, I mean, technically, Canales likes to break it into quarters. But as a fan, breaking it up into these manageable chunks for us, at least for me, we knew before the season started, Buffalo and Green Bay were the 2 hardest, at least on the front half of the schedule, games for the Carolina Panthers, regardless of what circumstance it was going to be. Buffalo at home, on the road, not going to be an easy task. As we sat here at 4-3 a few weeks ago, I said, okay, let's look at these 3 games, getting through 10 games of the season. If the Panthers could win between Buffalo and Green Bay and then take care of the Saints, they would be in really good position. And sure enough, here we are. Not going to look too far ahead. Not going to count my chickens. Not going to say that it's going to happen. But getting to 6-4 with a chance to travel right on down to Atlanta with an Atlanta team that is struggling. And you talk about an opportunity to sit at 7-4. Not going to get too far ahead of myself because it's one game at a time. I'm going to follow the mantra of Dave Canales and truly lean into that. But 7-4, and we would almost be through November. I mean, you'd have 2 games left there. Monday Night Football matchup against San Francisco. That really is the gauntlet. Like, now, as we sit here, if the Panthers could get to 7-4, they have the Saints left on the schedule. I think they could get one out of Tampa. We would realistically be talking a possibility of 9 wins for this season. Now, the NFC seems to be loaded at this point, so I don't know that 9 wins get you in the playoffs as it is right now, because where the Panthers currently sit outside of the view behind Chicago, they're sitting at the 9 seed. So they're going to need some teams to start falling. And fortunately for the Carolina Panthers, you're going to be playing these teams. I don't know if that's good or bad, but you do have your opportunity. 49ers, playoff team as of now. Rams, playoff team. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, twice, playoff team in your division. Chance to potentially take the division. Seattle Seahawks, playoff team. It's not going to get easier, but you just prove to yourself and to everyone else what you have. And I mean, the nice thing, if you look at this stretch, I'm kind of looking ahead too far, but once we get through the Monday Night Football game against the 49ers, your travel is the only remaining travel you have is within the division. So it's places you've been, places that you know. You're a little more comfortable playing somewhere that you go every single year. Like, you're going to kind of have worked that out versus a place you travel to either every 2 years. And likely for the guys on the team, you may have never even traveled to some of these places before, but as a team. So I like that as well, because you do get the Rams at home. You do get the Seahawks at home. So I count both of those as positives. And should the Panthers continue to be and remain relevant, there's no doubt that the fans are going to keep showing up. Fans are going to be there supporting this team and showing out. And like we've even seen it, like Buffalo is Buffalo, but I'm not really worried about the Rams taking over or the Seahawks or the Buccaneers. Like all those games, we should have pretty good turnouts, I would think, as long as the Carolina Panthers are in contention. But what a day, man. What a freaking day. And I talked about this on the broadcast. It got frustrating at times, primarily. Number one, can we talk about Rico Dowdle's celebration and the nod to Key and Pill and the fact that he got flagged for that is the stupidest thing. But it did cost him. I'm not mad at him. Like there are some people on here that were freaking out about it. I'm like, dude, chill. I mean, in reality, how do you call that? Like this really is turning back into the no fun league. Don't give me that no fun league. There were some parts though, so you miss an extra point there, but there were some parts within the game got a little frustrating because and we know that Ejiro Evero likes to play off. He loves the zone. He likes to keep things underneath, tackle. It can get frustrating at times, though, especially in situations where it's 3rd and short, 4th and short, and you don't have your guys pressed up. It is the easiest play in the world for the offense to sit back there and say, okay, well, we're just going to run to the empty spot over here. We saw Jordan Love make some plays. I mean, they threw the ball 37 times compared to Bryce Young that only threw for 20. He put up 273 yards. Before I mentioned that, like in the post, they were able to move the ball, but it was the red zone defense, the ability to force them a takeaway in crucial moments. Speaking of one of them, it is mind-boggling to me, one of them that didn't happen. You go back and watch the Mike Jackson potential interception there in the end zone. I don't know how he doesn't catch it. I don't know why Jordan Love throws that ball, but if he makes that play, I think there's a good chance he scores because just based off of where everyone was on the field on the opposite side, kind of boxed up that way, there was nobody on that side. He would have had a straight shot. Now, we saw him, a few weeks ago make an interception, have a pretty good lane and kind of just fumble out. Not fumble, but like fumble the return. Not getting nearly as much as we thought that he could have gotten on it. So I don't know. Maybe he trips along the way if he ends up having an opportunity to do that. But big day from Jordan Love. The Panthers did just enough. And you look at the lack of pressure that got to Bryce Young. Man, shout out to Ike Ekwonu. Holding it down. Because there's a lot of people, and, I'm not one of the ones that necessarily doubt him, but there is some concern there. Big performance because you think about Micah Parsons' performance against them last couple of years and what that's looked like and the pressure that they were able to generate when he was on the Cowboys against the Panthers. Being able to slow him down was huge. It was. As well as Rashawn Gary, because Rashawn Gary coming in, 7.5 sacks, ridiculous production on him. Panthers, I mean, and to do it with the offensive line that they had, that's what I can't get over, the fact that they are still able, game after game, to throw out a just new look. I know they put the graphic up there, most starting offensive lines with different guys in there in the entire NFL, but you had Icky, Damian Lewis, Austin Corbett, Chandler Zavala, Yash Nijman. Yash standing in for Timo. The other thing, too, like Damian Lewis banged up at one point, Zavala. So you had a rotation in. I mean, it was a weird game. There was a lot of guys getting pulled off for either concussion protocol or just, I guess they saw something. Guy looks out of whack, whatever it is, having to pull them off, take them in, go through the medical evaluation. But hats off to them. And I mean, we spoke on Rico Dowdle. 25 touches, 25 carries, I should say, 130 yards. And this was exactly what we needed. It's something I don't know. Like, I personally don't know what the juice is that he has. And it's not to say that Chuba Hubbard doesn't have that. Like, I appreciate Chuba Hubbard, but for whatever reason, where we are today within this offense at this point in time, it really has been Rico Dowdle that's had that fire. And honestly, if you are still going through your split, the series rotation here, I don't think the Panthers win this game. If you're back in the mix of Chuba Hubbard one series, Rico Dowdle one series, like, no, you just had to keep leaning in to get Rico Dowdle involved. 5.2 yards per carry, the 2 touchdowns, had 1 for 29. Massive performance. Chuba with 5 for 17. Bryce Young, not having to do a lot. I will say, too, the other thing that really, I know Greg Olsen is a Panther, and I also know he is fantastic at his job and very good at being unbiased, which is difficult when you are watching your team. Like, if you ask me to go on air and call a game, number one, it would be terrible. I would not be able to call a game, radio or live over air. I would not be able to do it. But if you asked me to do it, I'd lean heavily into questioning decisions, that would go against the Panthers. And he does a really good job of that. But I understand that the hit on Bryce Young, as you go back and watch it, he was in bounds. I absolutely understand that. I'm not questioning it. And I'm not even saying that there should have been a flag. Like, I don't care about any of that. Bryce Young has to learn, like, okay, if you're going to kind of let up like that, you need to go out. Just run a little bit harder, get to the sideline. However, I think just it's almost, in a way, an unwritten rule to a certain extent, just my opinion. When you see a guy going out like that, like, if you think about if that had been Mahomes, do they pull that flag back? I don't think they do. I think there's certain quarterbacks, if that happens, no, you're not pulling it back with replay assist. Even if he's in bounds, they call, I don't know if they call it a late hit, but unnecessary roughness. Like, I feel like they would find a way to call it. I'm not saying they should have. Get it straight. Not saying they should have called it. What I'm saying, it's Bush League, in my opinion. And this is a game of football. It's violence. It's contact. It's all those. They've taken all this out of the game. I get it. Like, if you told me like 10 years ago that that's a normal play, I think just where the game is going, not that that's good or bad, pretty much no. You see a quarterback going off to the side like that, you're going to ease up. I don't know. But he proved his point. It's fine. It panned out, and Panthers turned out okay in the end and got the dub. So I'll take that all day long. On the other side, Josh Jacobs with 17 for 87. This is positive. The Panthers held the Packers. I was going to flip it, but I decided not to. Panthers held the Packers to 104 rushing yards on the ground. Much better performance. Although you look at Cook today, I don't know what his final stat line was against the Chiefs, but he kind of picked up where he left off. Looked like he's balling out there. Buffalo Bills look like a pretty good football team. Same thing with the New England Patriots. So not bad to have those two losses. I think the Arizona loss is one that still sucks, but it is what it is. 17 of 87, 5.1 yards, 1 touchdown. Wilson only had 6 for 16 and 2.7, so really good job keeping him contained. We talked about Jordan Love. From a receiving standpoint, how about Tedero McMillan, man? T-Mac, 4 for 46, 11.5 yards. The way that he is able to rip the ball away, to catch with his hands, how reliable he is. I do know that Canales doesn't want to be predictable in some situations, but also in some situations, when you have a guy that is that good, it's like I could tell you pre-snap that I am going to throw the ball to Tedero McMillan. Not me, but Bryce Young could come up to the line and say, I'm going to throw the ball to Tedero McMillan. On the other side, And T-Mac is good enough to give you a chance to still make a play. Now, I mean, clearly, if they had 4 or 5 guys around him, no. But if you think about one-on-one, whatever the coverage is, so in my mind, it's like, the guy that can catch, the guy that can win, that can get open. He's been very reliable for Bryce Young. So there's certain situations where I wish they would lean into that a little bit more. You saw the play where they go away from him and then XL trips. It's not a lot of folks were tripping early too. I don't know if it was wet, like what the conditions were, but he trips and then Coker was like underneath and they couldn't make the play. I would have liked them to force it to him a little bit more. It's very similar to Rico Dowdle being in the game. 3rd and short, 4th and short. Guess what? We know what's coming. Yes, you can bootleg out of it. There's things you can do on top of it, but you know where it's going. You know who's getting the ball. And the player is good enough to make the play for you. And I think that's one of the things for me with Dave Canales that I'd like him to lean in a little bit more. And you have Bryce Young. I know it wasn't a great day passing, like we said, and the conditions weren't there, but he can make some plays. We saw him being able to extend plays, move around in the pocket, find the play, and make it when he needed to down the stretch. XL had 1 for 22. I mean, when you only pass for 100 yards, you're not going to have a stat line, a box score that really lights it up. Coker, Bryson Tremaine, JT Sanders, and Jimmy Horn Jr. The other thing I should shout out is Jimmy Horn Jr. getting involved. Crucial plays, man. That kind of little jet sweep where Bryce falls down, still gets him the ball, end up having to punt. I guess it was holding. I missed up a few things in my mind of thinking about what wasn't holding because I got mad at one of them that they called. But they continue to find him. And it's one of those other things when you think about the beginning of the season when we were struggling to run the ball, because that was the thing people may forget. This is where this whole dynamic, you just could not have seen it coming. And if you say you saw it coming, you're lying. There's no way in the world, if you watch the first few games the Panthers played between the rotation of these two, because there was no running game between them. But maybe that's because Rico just needed a little more juice to get going, a few more touches. But featuring Jimmy Horn Jr., and there's a lot of Panthers fans that wanted him earlier on to be more involved in the offense. And finally he has. My gosh, he's proven his worth and his value out there. It seems like, no offense to Hunter Renfrow, but so long, man. I mean, you look at this young core with XL, T-Mac, Coker, who I think he's working his way in. He's gonna get there. And then Jimmy Horn Jr., very solid skill set between those guys and a lot of versatility in what they're able to do. Romeo Doubs, man, that guy with his big, massive helmet, able to just work his way, man. 7 for 91. Good day for him. Jacobs had 4 for 13. Musgrave, 3 for 34. Watson, 2 for 58. Brooks, 2 for 24. And Kraft, man, I do think, we can acknowledge the fact that when Kraft went out, I only have one fantasy league. He's my tight end in that league, and I had him today in the lineup based off of last week's performance, 140 plus in the touchdowns. I did not want to see that today, but it is unfortunate. I do think that the game changed a little bit. Not fully. Like, everyone has injuries, but I do think he's a big part of their offense, and a lot of their passing game goes through him, and there's no doubt that the Carolina Panthers have struggled to cover tight ends. And so I do think Packers losing him hurt. And if you guys are here, I am going to get into the chat a little bit later. This is an extended monologue. We're basically jumping right into break the whole thing down. But we will get into the chat. If you are here and you're tuned in, please hit the like button on the video on YouTube so people see it and they can come find it. All that good stuff. Please, it's appreciated. And subscribe as well as we continue to stack that up. Also on TikTok. Not live right now on TikTok, but using TikTok, which is mind-blowing for me because I am not a TikTok person. I don't really watch them. I just make them. And then I don't make a lot of stuff on there, but just keeping it going. I will say this, though. Let's take a step back. And as I talk through all this stuff around the national media and the perception of the Carolina Panthers, I will give kudos to Evan Cohen for the morning show on ESPN, because I tweeted out as soon as I took a screenshot earlier this week. I mean, if you followed me on X, you would have seen it, where he put the Carolina Panthers, as we were talking about earlier, in his top 5 hot mess teams. As soon as it was over, I tweeted him and I tagged him and I said, "Hey, what do you think now?" And he said, "Hey, I shouldn't have put him in there." He's like, "Definitely got that one wrong." So hats off to him. Hats off to all those folks. And like, I did it jokingly, because guess what? You could have very easily turned right around to me and said, "Hey, CD, I know you picked the Green Bay Packers to win this game this week," which is true. And I will gladly own up to the fact that I got it totally wrong. And I'm happy to be wrong. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So we got through passing, rushing, receiving for both teams. Had one interception, Trayvon Merrick, and my gosh, like Jordan Love. You talk about some bad, like really should have had 2. But what in the world? I'm not mad at it. Like, just kind of like I wasn't mad at the Green Bay play calling down there towards the end of the second half, where they were second quarter in the first half, kind of taking a little bit of slow play, running some clock out, giving us a chance to keep the game close. I was like, I appreciate that. So same way I appreciate Jordan Love throwing the ball up, but that was 3 defenders right there. You not a great throw. McKinney had the one interception for Green Bay. Sam Martin had 3 punts for 134 yards, 44.7 average, 1 inside the 20, 51 was long. Green Bay did not punt on the day. So think about that. We're going to look at the box score in a minute. And there's some truth to this. Like, there is truth in some of the statements made by Michael Parsons in the post game, with the fact that if you were to hold a quarterback to 100 yards passing in the NFL, odds are you probably are in the game, or you should win it, I don't know, 75% of the time. But the flip side is you got to shut down the run, and you can't turn the ball over, and you can't make some of those mistakes, and that's what happened. But if you said, "Hey, we're going to hold," if I'm a Packers fan and you came in and said, "Hey, you're going to hold the Panthers to 100 yards passing, you're not going to punt, but you're going to lose the game," I think I'd lose my mind and say, how? Like, what goes on? Like, how is this even a thing? But sometimes it's just the way things fall, just the way that the fumble early on that went to Chuba, like just being right there. And I may have jinxed us coming into this game, because when I was looking at the Cowboys Panthers clips from last season, you look back and it was late in the game, but Bryce Young got hit by Parsons and fumbled the ball, lost it. And I was like, I hope we don't see this today, which we kind of did, but we recovered it. So it all worked out for the Carolina Panthers. So I'll take that every day of the week. Total first downs: 19 first downs for the Panthers, 20 for the Packers, 11 on the ground, 6 in the air, 2 by penalties. That was the total for Carolina. Green Bay had 13 in the air, 7 through the ground. Third down efficiency was not great. It was okay for the Panthers, but 4 for 10, 40%, a little bit better than what it's been on the season, or at least the last few games. Green Bay remained hot on third down, 7 of 13, 53.8%. Fourth down efficiency, we were 2 for 2. They were 2 for 3. They outgained us by 104 yards, 265 to 369. They ran 9 more offensive plays, 54 to 63. They outgained us by a yard per play, 4.9 to 5.9. We did get them rushing 163 to 104. 33 rush attempts to their 25. We averaged half a yard more per carry, 4.9 to 4.2. Really productive there. We talked through the passing again. Very good passing day for them. They took their shots. They made their plays. But we just had to do what we had to do, and the Panthers were able to pick it up, man. You hear a lot of people throw around like gutsy performance, or that's really what dirty, ugly, whatever it is. That was a big time win. It really was. And the way you get there is you limit the possessions, like both of these teams. So coming in, and I know they talked about it, and I bounce between the broadcast and Panthers radio. Shout out to Modern Rock 98.7 if you're in Coastal Carolina, if you want to listen to it live on air. But you usually have 5 to 6 possessions per half, and maybe 11 to 12 per game, sometimes 10. But you're at least getting double digits most of the time. Both of these teams possessed the ball 7 times. That's it. Both only had the ball once in the first quarter. So that is a big reason for the difference when you go through and look at the execution and what they were able to do. Unreal. So for the Panthers, of course, they punted the ball on their first drive. Then they had the interception. That was a long drive, too. They possessed the ball for 8 minutes. They had the ball for 8 minutes, 39 seconds. Technically, they started that possession in the first quarter, but carried over into the second quarter. Resulted in the interception in the red zone. Followed that up with a touchdown. Then the punt that came off of the missed field goal, another touchdown, a punt, and a field goal. That final drive, 9 plays, 40 yards, 3 touchdowns. And it was kind of a cat and mouse game at the end. I thought before, and they talked about it on the broadcast, was going to call a timeout a little bit earlier, kind of let it play out, then try to ice Fitzgerald. Panthers were okay to just take the kick with where they had it. Again, hats off to them. Just being a step ahead, thinking through, and I will say there's no doubt in my mind, and I give Tracy Smith a lot of grief, or I have given him a lot of grief, special teams coordinator here. I'm coming around on him a little bit. Things are getting a little more crisp. It helps when your kicker's making kicks. But his knowledge of special teams and the way he thinks about the game and what you have to know and the kicking conditions and the different fields and how you play it and this, that, it's smart. It was smart, and I know he probably gave some input on where do we want to kick? What do we do if we get it? This is how we want to play it. So all those things coming into play. For Green Bay, they had the first drive with the fumble. And, man, that was a very big play because they were moving into the red zone, right on the cusp of the red zone. They started on their own 28-yard line, got down into the red zone at around the 16, and then you have a really big – and at that point, I was like, okay, this is going to be a long day. This is going to be a long day for the Panthers if this is what we are going to see. Come away with a fumble. Being able to knock the ball out, very big play there. After that, it pretty much turned into a kicking battle for them with 2 field goals. They missed the field goal. All of these things factor into it. You have a missed field goal. You fumble it in the red zone. You start stacking those things up if you're a Green Bay fan, if you're a player, and you can kind of see okay, they kept the ball away from us like they wanted to. They did what they had to down the stretch. The interception, then the turnover on downs, and the touchdown. That was also another big play because, they had worked the ball down there pretty pretty close. Then they threw it up. Should have been, I mean, like we talked about, should have been a pick six, or at least a nice gain for Jackson. Only a 2-yard difference in the average starting field position. So 29-yard line for the Panthers, 27-yard line for the Packers. How about Christian Roseboom? My gosh, dude. 15 tackles on the day. That's gonna be a career high. Like, I've been tracking a lot of his stuff, and I think last time it was 12 was a career high. I'm sure we're gonna get the note this week that was a career high. If it may already be out, but anyways, 15 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, the forced fumble, really good play. Trevin Wallace, 9 total tackles, 1 pass defended. Turk, how about Turk? Tershawn Wharton coming up with a sack. That was a big play at a moment that we needed it. Mike Jackson with 5, Merrick with 5, Nick Scorton with 5. Scorton's coming around, man. He is giving me a lot of confidence in that position moving forward. And I hope we get Princely back to kind of work him way, in there. But really good. And, nobody ever wants to see anybody get hurt. You have Pat Jones going on IR, having to get surgery, given a chance for Scorton to step in, finding his rhythm as we go about it. Good day for Lathan Ransom. I don't know if this is going to be a career day for him, but 5 total tackles as well. So possibly got to give a tip our hat to Derek Brown too. Being able to get some holding call. Like, the dude is, even if he's not impacting the game with a sack or a tackle for loss or generating pressure, just being able to be held like that's it doesn't go down as a stat for him, but his performance there, man, really good. How about Gibson too, the guy that just signed off the practice squad from the 49ers? He comes away with 2 tackles. Nick Scott with 3, Horn with 4. Man, Nick Scott too, dude. I give him a lot of grief. He's made some good plays, but also I'm like, you can't look in. I mean, if you are going to be the safety over the top, you cannot get caught up what's underneath you. You cannot let things get behind you. If it gets behind you, it's gone. Gone. That continues to be a thing. I can tell you this, man. I don't want to look too far ahead because I'm gonna relish in every snap and play and game that we have. Like, we're halfway through the NFL season, which is insane. Already halfway through. College football is like winding down. But I look at this team and I just think about, man, if we can maintain what this is, because we think about last year, again, offense, building the offensive line, defensive line, building that front. If you can maintain the level of play that you are getting with a lot of these guys, you think about the potential to be able to go into the NFL draft and free agency, picking up some players at positions that really start to plug in and have impact, immediate impact on top of what we have. Anyways, reminiscing about what could be, we're going to focus on what's here in front of us now, which, of course, another big victory for the Carolina Panthers. McKinney had 9 tackles, Cooper 8 tackles, Walker 7, Williams 7, Wyatt 6, Nixon with 5 for Green Bay. I'm not going to read through all of theirs. Going into the half, if you look at the total stat line here, Panthers had the ball for 16 minutes compared to 13 for Green Bay. In the first half, it was actually pretty even. 3rd down, 2 for 3, 3 for 5 for Green Bay, 149 to 184 yards, 28 to 26 play. So it was close. Rico had 66 yards in the first half. Let's go down, and y'all can't see it. I just chose not to put it up today. I decided to just talk through it. But we'll look at the last piece here, the explosive plays. So Green Bay, we know, had some big plays. The 52-yard pass to Watson was a really big pickup. 30-yard pass to Romeo Doubs, a 28-yard pass to Romeo Doubs, 21-yarder to Musgrave, So 4 plays over 20 yards. And then they had another 4 plays over 10 yards. The Panthers not very explosive, which, did what they had to do today. But Rico Dowdle, 29-yard run was the longest for the offense. The pass to XL for 22. Dowdle for a 19-yard run. Pass to T-Mac for 16. Pass to T-Mac for 16 again. Dowdle for 13 and a 10-yarder to T-Mac. So 7 plays over of 10 or more yards. I mean, honestly, if you showed me the box score without watching the game, I probably would have said there's no way, or it would be hard to believe that Carolina ends up coming away with the victory on this one. But we're all here for it. I'm going to expand this so that I actually can share here in just a second. Passer rating wise, QBR probably not the greatest if you are looking at that for Bryce. 47.2 QBR, 48.3 passer rating compared to 66.4 for Love and 80.1 rating. The thing that still drives me crazy, as much as I don't care how many yards Bryce throws for, it's the completion percentage, man. Oh, he just hovers at 60 to 61%, and I really want to see him get up there to 67, 60. Honestly, closer to 70%, 68, 69, 67. No, I'm not going to do a stupid 6-7 joke. I kid you not, when I had to go grab the groceries and this afternoon, and at some point I don't even know the sequence of things, but Nolan came out and was like, what's the score? And I can't even remember. I think whatever, we had just gone up or something. I don't remember what the score was, but his response, we had just scored the touchdown. So I think it was 13-6. Yes. And he was like, oh, so it was just 6-7. I was like, oh my gosh, dude. Yes, it was, but I'm not buying into that. We're getting back on here. I really want Bryce Young delivering a completion percentage. Like if we're coming in here and we're having our evaluation and it's your end of year review right now, Bryce Young, I'm going to need you to really, you're doing great, making some good decisions, got to work on a few of the turnovers. That's okay. But what I really want you to focus on is completing the ball. Get that completion percentage up 65%. Let's have a target. We're going to incrementally get you to where you need to be. That is one of the things that frustrates me. And again, I don't care about yards if you're getting the win. And we'll go ahead, if I can pull this up. This is running a little bit slower on my side, so I may not be able to get there. I was going to try to pull up. Maybe it's not going to work. We were going to pull up and it's crashing out on me now as I try to get it there. We're going to give it another go. I was going to look at the updated NFL standings, potentially. Man, Seattle is dominating Washington 31-7 right now. Shout out to the New England Patriots taking care of the Atlanta Falcons. We'll always celebrate that. New Orleans Saints fell as well. Tampa Bay has the bye this week. So Tampa Bay not in action. All right, let's go back here and we can get into the playoff view. So let's get this pulled up here. Try it again. All right. And I'm going to make sure we can, that's good enough. Good enough for today for us to be able to view as we cycle through this. So right now, Philadelphia, number 1 seed, Tampa 2, Rams and Packers with their divisions. You have the Seahawks. Again, like I said, got to win some of these games. Keep up with the pace. San Francisco, Now, naturally, when you look at the Rams, Seahawks, and Niners, like between those teams, you're hopeful that they don't split, that maybe one of these teams sweeps the other, and maybe even one sweeps both, and you get two more losses on like Seattle or Fort. I don't care who it is, but they're going to all have to go through each other. So take care of business there. Hopefully, again, you get another two losses or so, if not three, for those as we work through them. And again, I don't even know. I'm sure some of the teams have played each other before, so you may not have the full 2 games each for all those. But all that to say, stuff can happen there. Detroit Lions, last team in now. And then the Chicago Bears and the Carolina Panthers. Last week, the Carolina Panthers are the only team that had a 500 record in the entire NFL. That's changed a little bit. I'm looking at not that it matters to us, but the AFC picture. Colts is falling to Pittsburgh. They're 7-2. New England 7-2. Denver 7-2. Pittsburgh 5-3. Buffalo, Chargers, and Jacksonville. So not bad. Panthers getting a little bit of a cushion. Hopefully, I mean, like we said, I don't know that the Lions are going to stumble. And honestly, it's hard looking at that first group of 7 teams right there. I mean, they're all good football teams. But hopefully somebody stumbles along the way. And Chicago Bears, like, I don't want them to keep winning. Like, I'm glad they're having success. I'm not one of those Panthers fans that hates them. I don't care. But for the sake of this, I would like to see some of these teams fall because the pressure is going to start ticking up. Again, though, if you can get to 6-4, if you can take care of Atlanta at 7-4, and then for Tampa, I have not looked at their schedule. I feel like they played some of their tough games. Oh, wow. Okay. So, folks, maybe got a little bit of hope here. Tampa taking on New England. That's not going to be an easy matchup. That is at home. Traveling to Buffalo in November. So, I mean, realistically, if Tampa were to lose 2 games in a row, which is a possibility, and or you throw in the Los Angeles Rams in the mix, that's at LA. There's a chance that 3-game stretch there, paired with the stretch that the Panthers are going to go through, man, you know what? We could be looking up in the middle of November in the NFC South. Carolina Panthers in the mix, but we're not going to get there yet. It's just slowly. It does get easier, I will say. Once they get through the Rams, Arizona, who's a bad football team, but maybe they'll be back to being competitive enough at that point. Place below Saints. Maybe by that point, too, the Saints have kind of figured something out with their new quarterback. They start to win a few. Atlanta, Carolina, and Miami. We've got the Dolphins in between the 2 matchups against the Panthers. So chances are on the table. No doubt about it. So we looked at the standings. We looked at the schedule. I think that's pretty much all that we're going to talk through today, man. I will get caught up now because I do appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Let's go back into the chat. Oh, we'll not make that full screen. Let's do that. All right, folks, let's get caught up. And appreciate y'all, as always, for tuning into the show. If you are still here, make sure you are following. So KEI Hood said, knew we could do it. Hey, man, I'll take it. I did not know we could do it. So hats off to any fans that felt it. I love it. Steve 0704 said this game is equivalent to the Week 5 game versus Seattle in 2015. Statement games give you momentum. They do, because you do start to believe. I think that's a really good point. You start to believe it. You see it. You're like, oh, we can do this. What Dave Canales has talked about is real. Let's go out there and continue to build off of that. I mean, you honestly, you're not afraid. And like if we're being real too, and some other folks brought this up, looking back at last year, we saw this in moments. Now the Panthers weren't ready then, but going toe to toe with the Philadelphia Eagles, with the Kansas City Chiefs, with Tampa Bay, they were in some games that they weren't supposed to be in back then, and it's just belief in what was being brought in with Canales. So I really like that. Yeah, Bryce Young, good season by far. I mean, no doubt the best start of his career in the NFL, like hands down, matching, because last year he wasn't at the captain of the ship in every win. I think he was only in there for the four of them. But so technically, as the quarterback, what is that, 5 with him as the starter? Best start of his career. So I'll take that all day long, man. Again, if he just keeps figuring out ways for us to be able to win. Yeah, and Steve said, looking at the next 4 games, no one is scary. I agree with that. Merritt said, what a dub indeed. I'll take that. Big win. Running game and defense. That is what we have come to know. That's all we need to know, man. As Steve said, Steve 0704, maybe I say it like that. Defense travels. Let's get healthy and make a push. I agree. Man, you wish the Panthers bye was a little bit sooner. They got it like the very last bye this season. So they got a few more games to go before they'll be able to get some rest. But man, one of the things that stuck out to me last week, yeah, they don't get their bye until December. That's rough. First week in December is their bye for the Carolina Panthers. But the news that Robert Hunt is ahead of schedule, again, we'll wait and see where that goes, but it'd be very nice if the Panthers are in the mix at the end of the season, if you don't want him to get re-injured, but if he's in there. Steve said, when you don't let the opposing offense get the ball much, they can't establish a rhythm. They can't get in sync, and it shows. Green Bay only had the ball 3 times the first half they made. Yeah, it's exactly what Canales wanted to do, as much as I hated it coming out. That was a big difference. And just thinking like, you give them the ball first, as good as they've been playing, they're probably going to be able to keep it, because you have that opening script you've already planned out, you've practiced it all week, you know what you want to call, kind of putting them in a tougher situation. This is a good question. Should Dan make a trade before the deadline? It's been something that I've semi-talked about. I don't know, and I know there's a few players available or potentially available. I've said if the Panthers choose to make a trade, which is a possibility, I'm okay with it under really two caveats. If it's a younger player, like personally, now I guess there's certain exceptions you would make, but younger-ish players, so you have a little more runway, so you're not just getting them here for the final 7, 8, 9 games, whatever it is, 8 games at this point. So giving yourself a chance to have them for a little bit longer. And the contract, biggest thing for me is like, what does the contract look like for whoever you're bringing in? Because I know there's some big ones out there for some of the guys that are available. I wouldn't be opposed to it. And also, I guess, third would be not giving up a lot. Like, don't give up a bunch of draft capital. Like, in reality, what we've seen through the Dan Morgan GM front office is like, okay, these picks are working as of now. Like, they're not all perfect, but the picks are working out. We're kind of finding a rhythm with him as the GM. So let's just keep on course with what we're doing, unless you can find a really good deal. Yeah, Underground West said, we have already tied our win total from last year. That's progress. Yes, it is. It is. It sounds small, but I mean, you're halfway through the season and you match the win total. You're continuing to stack it up. And man, wouldn't it be nice to keep this momentum going? Joe K9452 said, props to Canales for planning ahead to have the win at their back in the fourth quarter. Yep. Can't Can't say that enough about their preparation. And that's one of the things that's, in a way, Dave Canales, when they were losing earlier on the road, he was like, I don't know if I'm getting these guys prepared. I need to look and evaluate everything that we're doing. They were very well prepared today and ready to take over. Girl says Rico gives us the best chance to win. It's just business. I agree with that. We were talking a little bit earlier about Rico and Shuba and the difference in touches and where things sit with the team right now. And I know deep down, Shuba, everybody, if you're playing a sport, if you're doing anything, you're like, yes, I'm going to be selfless to an extent, but we all are like, I want mine. But kudos to him being able to be in there when needed. Steve said, how often does the team win when throwing 100 yards? I don't know. I'm pretty sure we could probably ask AI. That's a good question. How many times? I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it. Might as well do it live. Has an NFL team won when only throwing for 100? I don't know if we're going to get an answer. Probably have to do it in sophisticated. It just says numerous times. Oh, the Titans won a game in 2009 with a negative passing yard mark, -7. I feel like it's pretty rare, though. 100, that's not a lot of offense at all. So, that's good. We beat Green Bay at Lambeau. Only the second time we've done that ever, and they are number 8. Yeah, it's a huge win, man. Packers have dominated the series all time. I know it's kind of a shorter series, and there haven't been a ton of matchups, but I know we were coming in heavily favored, but also leading in the all-time series. Yes, props. Sorry, I'm getting this one. I got sorry, y'all. There we go. Having a little bit of delay here. I don't know what's going on my side, but props to the O-line shutting down Parsons. Props indeed. What we got? Chapel Bill. What's up, Chapel Bill, man? Hope you're doing good. Running the show. Congrats on your first win as over a Power 4 team in an ACC win. I'll take it. No, it actually was a good performance against Syracuse. Although it was blacked out for me because I have YouTube TV. That was a freaking pain in the butt. But anyways, Chapel Bill says they do not want to hurt Bryce's feelings. The truth is Bryce is a cheap bridge until we build this team, and then we will plug in a young franchise quarterback. Ooh, that's a high take coming in. I'm not sold on that yet. But, if you wanted to look at it as so I will tell you, it's a good point. And also, I always say, man, you guys can say whatever you want to say. We're not going to go against, it's your opinions, folks. It's why we do this. I will tell you a big decision point that may answer this question for us and, lean into this statement is what do they do with Bryce at the end of the season? Likely picking up the 5th-year contract, I would think. Does he want to play on the 5th year? Does he want a new contract? Probably. That's what we see a lot of these quarterbacks getting their $200 to $300 million. So I think it is a big decision that's going to come in the offseason and give us a better picture. I'm not down that rabbit hole today, but we have talked about numerous times, and other people have too, just Dave Canales, Bryce Young, Dave Canales potentially wanting his guy. But I think things are going well enough as they are right now for them to remain. But Mike, what's good? What's up, man? What's up, man? What a win today. We back all day long. We're starting to build a culture for some tough, gritty football, said Underground West. I agree with that. Yeah, we were talking up, or I was talking up those talking heads earlier. It says, I hate how all the talking heads focus on what went wrong for Panthers opponents. Yes, that's the other thing. They'll very heavily lean in to what the other team did wrong versus what we did right. Before I get too lost, I want to make sure I shout out Steve-O for the 199. Appreciate that, Steve-O. I was going through these and then looked over and realized I left that one out there, so apologize for that. But he said, I'd love to see more wide receiver opportunities. I do think looking at, the core that we have together, hopefully they're going to get involved a little bit more as we kind of get rolling, but I agree with that for sure. I appreciate that as always. Let's see. Yeah, and Undergrass said, we are in a good position if we take advantage of it. We are. Panthers are in a prime position now. Just got to take advantage of it. Do not get lost. Like now, I would start talking about the Saints and I think there's a comment down here that I'll go ahead and get to it in just a second before I get too far. I hope Joe said, I hope we stomp the 49ers. I'm the only Panthers fan in my family of Niners fans, and they hold Christian McGlass free over my head. Oh, that's perfect. I'm with you. I am with you in supporting that. I hope so too, like hands down. Ryan, I was actually going to say this. So was this considered a trap game? I don't know. I mean, maybe number-wise, I think you could possibly say it. Now, when you mention a trap game, it's usually, I think there's two ways. People think trap game, it's usually you are looking ahead, and my computer is just like running as slow as it can run right now. But you're usually looking ahead. So it's like, okay, we have the lousy whoever coming into town. I don't care. I'm really focused on whoever's up next. You know what? It could have been, like, to a certain extent. Now, I don't know that they would necessarily been sleeping on him, but you think about the odds. Think about everything coming into this with them being 13.5. That had to be, if not the biggest spread this week, the second biggest spread. And they are looking at a Monday Night Football matchup. It's either Monday night. Yeah, Monday Night Football matchup against the Eagles next week. There is a very good chance they were looking ahead and that they just came out of this as a trap game. I think that's a good point for sure. Great call out there. Joe said, I don't care if Bryce only throws the ball 20 times. If it means Rico is running, we need to keep that guy. Yeah. I don't know if we'll be able to pay him, but I would love to have him around. Glad they won. This really is, Rico, and thinking about what he could have possibly done if he had been the feature back. Now, how would we have known? I don't think you would have known because, like, Chuba Hubbard was not bad last year. He was coming off a really good year. So it's like you couldn't have predicted that you would have gotten this out of Rico. But he has 735 yards on the season now. So, I mean, in reality, on pace for around 1,300 or so. And you think about the limited number of carries and production in like the first little bit, he should, if he stays the way that he is, healthy, knock on wood, all that stuff, likely surpass his career best, which was last year, 1,079 yards for the Cowboys. So I'd love to, especially because he's a Carolina kid, not only South Carolina where he played, but from Asheville, all that. And yeah, Chandler Zavala went out in the first quarter. We'll have the official snap. And it's been such a wild day that I did not get to follow up on all the injuries and all the locker room scrums and all that fun stuff. I'll have to do that tomorrow or late tonight. Get all the news on there. Yeah, Rico is the hot hand. We're rolling. Ryan said, having Rico do the heavy lifting and Chuba taking over when Rico needs a break is perfect. It is. And I mean, it's the recipe that it works. And as long as, we're winning football games, I don't think there's any reason why Chuba could hate on that. Like, as much losing as he's unfortunately been a part of, it's not his fault, but losing that's been here for sure. Oh, Virgil said, trade Chuba, give the team some serious draft. Trading Chuba would. Yeah, I mean, I know there were initial rumors about teams inquiring. I don't know the validity of them, but teams sniffing and calling around. And I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, it makes sense to pick up the phone. And if you're Dan Morgan, you take the call. I'm not saying you have to trade him away, but you do bring it in. Say, okay, well, what do we have going on here? Like, what are you trying to get for him? So it is. It's going to be an interesting few days because trade deadline comes up next week. This week, trade deadline is what, Tuesday at 4:00. So not a lot of time to get things going, at least not right now. Steve said, I'd love to see a game where we spread out 4 and 5 wide and let Bryce throw for 300 yards. He does have the weapons, but I think it's just schematically, if you tried to do that today, it wouldn't have worked. That's not to say I don't enjoy, games. It's been unfortunate that the times where we've had to get in that mode, we've been down by a lot of points. So I kind of take what we have now versus going and seeing Bryce throw it, although it would be good. It would be nice every now and then. Joe said, I'd love to see Jimmy get the ball with an open field. I agree, too. It's kind of like where there's screens, those jet sweep motions. I do think, I don't know, getting him over the top or just getting him out on the run, I do think he's got that speed, to your point, to like break one open. If your team has an identity, you keep doing the same thing and you keep winning. Keep pounding. Keep Rico. Keep pounding. I love that. Same record as the Chiefs. I'll take that all day. Joe, that's a good point, though. It says a late bye is great for the playoffs. It's a good point. It really is. Cool, man. Well, how long have we been here? We've been over an hour. My gosh. I thought I was going to have a short episode. I kept rambling. So anyways, appreciate you guys, as always, tuning in. We'll be back this week, as we always are, with a bunch more content, doing the fun stuff that we do. Appreciate y'all. Hope y'all have a nice Sunday evening with your sleep and time changes if that affected you. So anyways, I'll see y'all. Y'all have a good